going into college, you switch over. So when do you decide that reporting is a goal in and of itself, or is it I'm going to be a writer, but until I can support myself that way, let me report?
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. I call it the Hemingway, Mark Twain route, because when I told my guidance counselor I want to write books, they were like, oh, but you can't write books when you're 18. They won't want you. Now, of course, they would love to have an 18-year-old who could really write a good book. But back then it was like, no, you've got to cut your teeth. You got to earn your chops. You got to earn your way. And so they said, you should go into, writing for newspapers and magazines. And so I did. And now I curse them. No. It was a really good career in that what it taught me it gave me a really good ear for dialogue. Because I've listened to so many people talk over the years. Like I know, like when I'm reading a book and someone will have dialogue in there, I'm like, oh God, no one would ever say it that way, And I'm not being rude. It's just like, you can tell they haven't listened to a lot of people just talk, how people drop their G's or how they pause or any of that stuff. And then it also, I picked up so many character traits because I met so many different people. I mean, I interviewed Billy Graham. I interviewed an astronaut. I interviewed, I don't know how many lawyers. I interviewed people who had trained llamas to square dance.
Go on.
I'm intrigued.
Where are these square dancing llamas, and why would someone devote their time to this?
Square dancing llamas, kid you not. It was funny because it was one of the stories that kind of went viral. Like David Letterman wanted them, and Jay Leno, and so like they broke their, like they got so many calls it broke their answering machine, and then they had people like calling my family members, like the news media calling my family members trying to get to my number because it was unlisted, and it was crazy. All over square dancing llamas. But
I think we've answered the question of motive. Obviously, for great fame and fortune, that is why you would teach llamas to square dance. That makes sense.
Exactly.
What are we doing writing books? We got to get some llamas.
Yeah. I know, right? But they have these llamas, and they just wanted to have, like, they had a llama farm, and they just wanted to have fun events there to explain why they had the llamas and what llamas were good for and blah, blah, blah. And so they taught them how to square dance as you held on to them. And then anyway, but that's the kind of stuff it gave me. It's like, it just gave me this whole open door to see all kinds of moments. I saw people at their absolute best in life, and I saw them at their absolute worst, I did a story on a bank robber, a cross-dressing bank robber. He dressed like a woman, hoping that would be his disguise, right? And that so no one would figure out it was him. And so he wasn't really a cross-dresser, but he just cross-dressed it was a disguise, basically. So anyway.
Like Tootsie, but with hostages.
Exactly. Thank you for interpreting me. And
that's why I'm here. Always there for you, Lisa. Don't even worry about
it. You speak, Lisa. But he sent me a letter after they caught him, and he sent me a letter from jail, basically saying that he had hid the money before they found him, and they knew that, and that if I would, visit him in jail. And I'm not going to go any further. Your imaginations just take off from there. But if I visited him,
sit at one of those like phone booths and hello, how are you? It's a middle grade podcast, Fipps. What are you doing there? Where are we at?
But no, I mean, what I was trying to say is I've just seen the worst in people.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy wrote me a letter and basically was saying if I become his girlfriend, that once he got out of jail, we'd take off together. And I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like all these weird things in all my years that I have like to draw ideas from and character traits from and plots from and all of that, that it gave me. So it's a gift in disguise because, like I said, I've seen the best in people and the worst in people and everything in between. But it was good. And plus it just taught me to write cold. I can sit down at a computer and just write. And a lot of people get nervous at a blank screen. That doesn't bother me. And so it had a lot of traits that it was really good now as an author to have had that training.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Now all I can think is that guy might have been your one true Hannibal, your Clarice. Spoilers at the end of Hannibal, the book, not the watered down movie. The book, they find true love. It's so wonderful.
Oh.
I've just divided the audience. Half the Thomas Harris fans are furious. Like, no, we hated that ending. But for the record, I liked it. Anyway, so that teaches you to sit down and write cold. And you're a reporter for how long before you start thinking that it's time to make that transition to marketing?
Well, the problem was I wanted to make the transition long before I could make the transition because the economy hit snags. And so it was, harder to make that transition when I made it. So I worked 6 part-time jobs for 3 years to make that transition happen.
Wow. 6 concurrently?
Really, yes. Yes. So it wasn't a fun 3 years, but it allowed me to get where I wanted to be. And I'm that type of person. I'm going to do that. If it takes 6 part-time jobs for 3 years to get where I'm going to go and where I want to go, okay, if that's what it takes, I'll do it. And so I transitioned out of it. But I had been a journalist for 19 years.